Hello and welcome to Globewatch with me, Charles Buneed, from the best Western hotel here in Douala, the economic capital of Cameroon. Africa counts at least 1.3 billion people, plus half of that figure is made up of women, simply meaning the success of the African continental free trade area will equally depend on the success of women, especially involving them in the entire production and supply chain of the new market environment. What will be the purpose and the work of women in this new environment? My guest today to understand the role of women in the effective implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area is a Nigerian banker, investor, and women's rights advocate. Toyin Sanni, welcome to Globewatch.
Thank you, Charles.
You have so many years invested in championing the cause of the woman in Africa as a banker, as a lawyer, as a mother, as a philanthropist. When you sat wherever you were and you realized that African leaders finally agreed to operate the Continental Free Trade Area, what did it mean to you as a woman?
It got me very excited about the tremendous opportunities for women and for youths who constitute the majority of Africans. You have rightly mentioned that women constitute more than 50% of the population of the continent. It is the same in Nigeria as with most of sub-Saharan Africa. We also recognize that these women, in so many cases, are the breadwinners for the families and the homes. These women also represent, very importantly, mirrors that the younger women can look up to as examples, positive examples, hopefully, for them to model themselves after. So the free trade area for Africa must open, as it were, its doors and gates for African women. There is no way we can say that Africa as a continent is successful if the women of Africa are not successful. Like I said, these women are the majority of our people. These women, in so many cases, are the breadwinners, and their homes are essentially centered around the women, and that is in line with our African culture. Now, for me, it's an opportunity for women, many of them who run SMEs. Again, we also have the highest proportion of women-led SMEs in sub-Saharan Africa
about small
than the rest
and
of the world.
medium-sized
Small, absolute, small and medium-scale enterprises. So these enterprises are representative, or they are responsible for close to 70% of jobs across sub-Saharan Africa. So the success of the women who lead these enterprises, I believe we have more than 40 million women, of these women in West Africa alone. So these women, that creates jobs for the majority of the populace, that feed the families for so many homes across Africa, need an opportunity to transport, first of all, their agricultural produce. So I'm sure you know also that women play a majority role in feeding sub-Saharan Africa.
Absolutely. We'll enter into the nitty-gritties of that in a moment. Like you said, a majority of the economic life wire of the continent is basically in the agricultural sector, and women are the main drivers in this sector. What do you think should be the investment African governments should do to mainstream women more and give them more capital to scale up with the main counterpart, to have a more balanced trade sector?
God bless you. So the governments need to level the playing ground. I'm sure you are aware also, because I'm so pleased that you're very knowledgeable about women, and I'm very informed about the fact that they are the backbone of the agriculture sector, which is responsible not just for feeding Africans but also for exporting food outside of the continent. Now, these women have a problem of access to finance. I mean, all over the world, it's probably 3 times harder for a female entrepreneur to access finance than it is for a male entrepreneur, unfortunately. So what should governments, what should policymakers be doing? Putting in place policies that level the playing ground for these women in terms of access to finance. Policies that also encourage financial literacy, because a lot of these women run businesses, but they need help to manage the books, to understand how to keep the books, and to ensure that they are not taken for a ride by those whom they choose to partner with. So policies that will help to access funding is very important, and it's not just for governments, public and private sector participants, financial institutions like the one I run, and we have products that we have targeted specifically at women. One of the products we're working on right now is a fund for female entrepreneurs, which we hope, we will start with $40 million and be able to scale up over time so that these women can access much needed capital to strengthen their businesses, improve their products, have channels of distribution, put in place the technology that they need to reach the whole of Africa. Because let's be frank, a free trade zone is going to ride on the back of technology.
According to available data, Africa is plus 1.3 billion people.
Yeah,
the African Continental Free Trade Area is the single largest trading bloc in the world today, which is above the European Union or even China, which is the world's largest populated country. The African Continental Free Trade Area will create an economic market space of roughly $3 trillion. You said that governments should level the ground for women. But when you look critically, part of these governments too are made up of women at the highest level of decision making. If you go to Nigeria, over the years, the finance ministers have been women. Should they be doing some positive discrimination in providing a safe environment for finances?
Okay, so I'm going to answer you by first saying that we are grateful for the women, the opportunities that have been given for women to play roles in leadership. But I can assure you that what we have right now is a far cry from what it is. So if you have women at over 50% of the population, but barely scratching 10 to 12% of representation in government offices, you will know that there's still we still got a long way to go. But I am grateful that the women that have been given the opportunity have distinguished themselves, and you can see what Madam Ngozi is doing right now on the global, at the global stage.
At the World Trade Organization. As the first ever female Director General.
Absolutely. What we need to do is also, a lot of our women are in the rural areas. So building infrastructure, putting in place the logistic network that would help them to move their goods from the villages to the cities, making sure there is power. So power and road infrastructure are a critical component of empowering the women. So I would say access to finance, access to power, road infrastructure, water infrastructure, transport infrastructure in general, and of course, very, very importantly, financial literacy. If we put those building blocks in place, then we create a bridge that can move our women from the villages of Cameroon and the villages of Nigeria to the main market of the free trade Africa area.
Let's take Nigeria as a case study. This is a country at times referred to as the Brazil of Africa, almost the same population, 200 million people. This is Africa's largest economy currently, and one of the key drivers of the African market space.
Correct.
What is the role of the woman in Nigeria in particular in making sure that the African Continental Free Trade Area is beneficial to them? You master that environment in Nigeria better. How is it? How are the dynamics?
Okay, so I think the role of the woman, first of all, is as an entrepreneur, and I'm glad to be an entrepreneur. After building a career for over close to 3 decades, I realized that there were things that I could do better as an entrepreneur, such as creating a platform for other women. So creating platforms for other women, like we, for example, then have funds. I have a Wealth for Women fund, building funds that can provide access to women, putting women on boards, for example, in positions. You can only do that when you are the one making the table. Advocating for the rights of women is very, very important. We have a very active body in Nigeria called Women in Business, very vocal, and I can credit a lot of the progress that has been made in terms of gender inclusion to the work. I run another network that is probably next powerful, Women in Finance Nigeria, which we now have a UK branch, and we are also supporting so many branches that are springing up across Africa. So providing networks for other women, platforms for visibility, and very importantly, when women do access funding and do get board positions, distinguishing ourselves in those places such that we can then, open the door for the next round of women to keep coming. And with the free trade area coming up, ensuring that all the commitments, all the nations make commitments towards level playing grounds for women and also quotas. So the free trade AFTA has said that there should be no discrimination against women. I've said that we should encourage women exporters, but making sure that the data is actually kept, the statistics are kept, and comparisons are made. And where there is a clear gap between how many women are producing and how many women are actually getting an opportunity to export, then we have to walk back to find out what is responsible and make sure that those gaps are bridged.
I'm glad that you talked about the demand and supply chain, import and export,
correct,
and how that navigates for women. But what I want to get clearly from you, where do you see more of an opportunity, and where should more investment be made for women to have their real place in this new-found economic environment? Is it engaging them more in entrepreneurship, giving them more digital skills, or just doing the traditional business? Okay,
I'll start with agriculture and agribusiness is a fantastic opportunity for women. Technology, especially digital technology, and especially utilizing all the digital means possible to market. So the tech market space is a fantastic way. And you see amazing things that women are able to do on Instagram, for example, for those who are in fashion and culture and all those businesses. And then another space that I think is very important for women is services. So we want to see free movement of services across Africa. We have a lot of brilliant female professionals. Women have distinguished themselves. They have studied well. We want them to be able to have access to move these skills across the continent. So those are areas that I personally would like to say. Logistics, we must not forget logistics. Women play a big role in the entire logistic value chain. I would also talk about healthcare. Women again play a big role in the delivery of healthcare, and the pandemic has made the importance of the health sector, very, very clear to all of us now. So I think it's a great time for women if we get the support that we need and the advocacy that we need is made clear and done.
Beyond the advocacy, which of course has been a sustained campaign since the 1996 Beijing Conference on Women, plus 20 years now, how much of an opportunity did the pandemic, which you just mentioned, COVID-19, played to exile that the world of today cannot function with women, especially in Africa?
Or without women.
Without women.
Yeah. I think in all fairness, I think the pandemic made it very clear. The proportion of women that work in the healthcare sector, the proportion of women that are in the logistics sector, the role that women play in the retail business. And because, for so long people were shut down, and suddenly we realized that to move everything from one place to the other, you needed to go. And you had these women who were already very active on Facebook and on Instagram, and they became the channel by which we could sell our products and present ourselves. I think it's very clear that women have a big role to play and need to be encouraged and to be empowered.
Is education key in all of this?
Totally.
Where should they be skilled more? Because we already have the professors in laws, in political sciences, in literature, and whatsoever. Are the sciences?
Absolutely. It's
an
very
area of
important.
interest?
There has been a movement in the last decade, at least, to encourage more girls and women to move into what is called the STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And that move needs to continue. But now knowing that also our definition of technology should be broad enough to include sports technology, fashion technology, to include technology for entertainment, you know, because women also play a big role in, I mean, Nollywood, I'm sure you're familiar with, is a space where we have seen women actors really distinguish themselves across the continent. The music industry is another place where there's a huge opportunity, huge potentials for women. African women traditionally over the years have been wonderful with arts and culture. So bottom line is move women into STEM, move more and more women even into culture, sports and entertainment, and health, the health sector, health and pharmaceutical.
When you move across Africa as a women's rights advocate, as a banker, as a businesswoman, as a policy maker and shaper, what do you see across the board as the hurdles, as the challenges, as the main blocks in unlocking the potential of women in Africa in playing their role in the society efficiently?
Political power is one of the hurdles, because women are still very much on the fringe of political power, and you are aware that for anything to happen anywhere in Africa, we still need the political will for it to happen, so for the policies to be shaped. So political power, economic power, and that's where the access to finance and access to economic opportunities comes in. Education in a lot of parts of Africa, due to cultural and religious barriers, a lot of women are still deprived of, you know, getting to the ultimate or the zenith of their educational potential. Another space or another gap or hurdle is simply mindset. So we still have, you know, some parts of the continent where it is so hard to envision women in leadership positions, and there is there are mental blocks around it and attitude. So there are attitudinal problems as well. But one thing I do see everywhere I go in Africa is also I see women demonstrating tremendous capacity, and I am always impressed by the quality of skills and capability that I see in African women. And I just know that if these women are given the opportunity, they will pleasantly surprise everybody.
Walk through my audience through your life. You are one of Nigeria's leading female voices. You studied in the University of Ife, you have done finances, you have done businesses, you are a lawyer, you are a banker, you are all of that. Walk my audience through your life cycle. How has it been in combining all of that?
Okay, thank you. So I need to start by talking a little bit about my parental background. So my father was an accountant, and he really valued education. An accountant with a passion for education, especially for the education of his 2 daughters and 5 sons. And he made a point of not differentiating at all between the daughters and the sons, and he gave us a voice from very early in life. And then my mother, who was an industrialist and entrepreneur, and she was always out there doing business and making things happen. So that combination for me created a passion for knowledge, but also a passion to execute and to implement based on the knowledge that I grew, and that has helped me over time. So yes, I studied law. I have a master's degree in law from the University of Lagos, first degree from the University of Ife, now called Obafemi Awolowo University. And then I am a chartered stockbroker as well. I'm also a chartered secretary and administrator, and an investment banker. So what happened for me was studying law actually made me interested in contracts and commercial transactions. And I suddenly realized that, look, my knowledge of the law was a platform. It didn't have to be the zenith. And so I moved to finance within 3 years of my qualification as a lawyer, and have been in finance for well over 30 years now. I am passionate about women. very, very passionate about women. And I think what helped me was that very early in life, as a teenager, I remember watching the news and the announcement of the first female chairman of a bank in Nigeria. It was UBA then, which I later went to work for. And Chief Mrs. Bola Kuforiji Olubi of late memory was being announced as the first female chairman of the bank. And something, a light bulb just opened on the inside of me. I was very young. I must have been maybe 13 or something. And I just said to myself, this is what I want for myself. And that's why this is so important to have, I call them mirrors. You know, if you've never seen somebody like you in a position, it's very hard for you to think that you can get there. But the minute you begin to see people of your color, of your gender, of your shape, of your size, of your background, of your level of education, achieve something, then you can see yourself get there. So this light bulb came up on the inside of me and I said, yes, I want to be a woman, because I saw how respected she was. And I said, look, I want to be respected like this in the corporate world one day. And then, you know, and then the journey began.
Well, corporate Nigeria, as a business example, is a leading in Africa. The world's first richest black person is from Nigeria. Aliko Dangote, who happens to have sat on this set some few months ago.
And the richest black woman too.
The richest black woman, Fularo Show.
My mentor and sister, Chief Mrs. Folorenshaw. Mrs. Folorenshaw Alakija.
Alakija, she's from Nigeria. Africa's best known philanthropist and entrepreneur, Tony Elumelu. These are all people who have sat on this program.
My mentor and former boss.
Okay. You are mentor and former.
He's still my boss.
And
my chairman of my board.
How much of your life have you invested in improving the lives of other women?
Okay. I am very pleased and honored that I founded Women in Finance Network 3 years ago. No, not 3 years ago, actually 2016. So that's 5 years ago now. And since then, we have formed the UK chapter, which is thriving and doing well. We are currently supporting the Rwandan chapter that are in the process of takeoff. We have since then also provided support for other women groups that are trying to spring up in other parts of Africa. There's an initiative to start one in the United States for African women in diaspora. In Nigeria, I mean, I have been a champion of women for practically all my career, and one of the things I was happy to do when we set up Imagine Africa was to put in place boards, have chairmen of all our boards. As women currently, or well, save for one, we have a male chairman, have women, all the CEOs are women. We have created opportunities for women in senior management. And let me be honest with you, we're doing them favors because these women have distinguished themselves. They have done so well, surpassed targets on a consistent basis. So in every opportunity I've had as I built my career, I provided opportunities for women.
What specifically do you intend to achieve with Emerging African Capital? Okay,
so we set out 3 years ago when we started to raise $1 billion for African businesses and communities. So far, we are 3 years into that goal. That goal was a 5-year goal. We're 3 years into that goal, and we have, by the grace of God, done over $600 million. So we're very much on track to close at the end of 5 years with full achievement of that target. Obviously, it will then be a moving target because we will then have to set a new target. But just to quantify, that was the initial numeric target we set. Most importantly is that we want to be the leading catalyst for Africa's emergence as a key global investment origin and destination.
When my audience listen to you talk, they have the impression that this is a lady who probably would not like to see a husband beside her. You are well married, established with children. How much support do you enjoy from your husband in all of this?
Okay, so so by the grace of God, yes, I am happily married for over 30 years. We will be 31 years in marriage next month in October. And yes, my daughter is here with me. She's a fund manager as well. She's here in her own right, but also I am happy to note that she's happy with me, and we have been able to raise 3 marvelous children who are also excelling in their chosen fields. By the grace of God, my husband has been amazing.
Well, maybe I should tell the audience that your daughter was the best graduating student in the Bristol University in the United Kingdom. It means that you are just so powerful, because it's not easy for an African to be the best graduating student in a European university. I'm just celebrating you.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
So my husband has been of tremendous support. Very understanding, supportive of my vision, understands that sacrifices have to be made for dreams to come true. On the whole, I can only say I'm very grateful for the role he has
You are
played.
here in Douala for an event which has to do with Pro Meet and Learn.
Yeah.
How are such events critical in galvanizing, in shaping the African mentality, women, men succeeding towards the same direction?
Oh, these events are very important. They're important to shape opinion. They're important to foster collaboration across the nations of Africa, across the gender divide, across the industries and the sectors. They're very important to showcase what the issues are and what the possible solutions will be, getting them from different shades of opinion.
Nigerian banker, lawyer, philanthropist, mother, and futuristic investment officer, Toyin Sanni, thank you very much indeed for being my guest on Globewatch today.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.